The secret to a great headshot is actually two secrets. The first, hire a talented photographer that cares about who you are, will listen and be patient with you as you try your best to get the most professional version of yourself. And the second is your commitment. Today, we're gonna talk about 10 tips to help you take your very best headshot. Remember, headshots are important not just for our own vanity, but they're our digital emissary. They are our first impression with employers, with coworkers, with people on social media, LinkedIn, business cards, all these things. People will first see you in this light, and so it's important that we nail it. So, with no further ado, let's get into these tips. Number one, will seem very basic, but you need to get more sleep. I know a lot of us are working a ton, work from home, especially when COVID's been really, really stressful, but it's really important to understand that sleep and exhaustion is one of the first things going to show up on your face, and you do not want to come off as tired or agitated, and more importantly, when you're photographing, when you're really tired, your ability to be patient enough to get the right image may not be all the way there. Make sure you're drinking plenty of water. We are human beings, our skin is very porous, so drinking a lot of water is really helpful for us, not only in our own health, but how it shows up on our face. Like stress, dehydration can show up and is not ideal. So that means with the sleep and the water, you want to start sleeping, make sure you sleep 7 to 9 hours, at least a week before the shoot, and you're drinking more water before the shoot. Next up, you want to take 30 minutes to an hour to look through photos of yourself, not necessarily headshots, but photos of yourself you've seen in the past that you like. It's important to understand, what do I like about that photo? Is it how my skin looks? Is it how my face looks? Am I having a good time? Do I look joyful? When you study these versions of yourself, these like 2D versions of yourself, you can better understand, how do I look my best? Sometimes a photographer may not understand that, but you, like I said, that commitment that you're gonna give, understanding who you are and what you look like will help you a ton. This also helps you set your expectations. For some of us, we are larger or smaller, maybe we have scars or our eyes are certain colors. There's certain things that we're gonna see when we look at images of ourselves that help set our expectation for what a best version of us looks like. We're not gonna look like celebrities, and we're also not gonna look frumpy, but somewhere in between. And so being patient with yourself and understanding how you're gonna look will help you go a long way during the shoot. Understand, lastly, body image is super important for this point. Be patient. If you wanna try your hair in some different ways, I encourage it, but make sure you find that beauty and understand that professionalism is rooted in confidence. Next up, and this is pretty fun. It's time to go shopping, but in your closet. It's important to decide what you want to wear, and there's just a couple things that we want to pay attention to. First of all, blues and grays are great for getting jobs, but this is your headshot, so you want to express yourself. What do I mean by that? I mean that if you know what your undertone is, if you're warm undertone, cool or neutral undertone, then go ahead, you don't need this help. But if you are having a hard time figuring out, as you start to look at those photos that you audited of yourself, do you think you look best in cooler environments or warmer environments? Like maybe photos in the fall, if you have like a pumpkin spice photo and you're like, wow, my skin looks really warm and I look happy, then try to make sure you have something that is on the warmer edge, like a brown, a warmer orange, a burgundy, something like that. But if you find yourself looking a little bit better in cooler environments, like maybe around a lot of metal or at the beach or something, then maybe you're a cooler tone. Another way to know is based on your makeup, and a third way is by checking your veins. So if you look at your veins and they're a little greenish tint, that you have a warmer undertone, so you look very good in earth tones, like I said, like reds, yellows, golds, warm earth tones. If you look in your veins on your wrist are a little blue, a little purple, then that is, you lean into silver, some cooler earth tones, some blues, or maybe a blue or green. And if you can't tell, then go something more neutral. So something that's a little gray, or something that's black. With makeup, it's less is more. Sometimes we might be surprised, especially when we use a lot of color and blush. It can be overpowering on the face, and those things should work well with the clothing that we chose. Next up is picking a great location. It may seem obvious because you're like, well, this is my desk. I work, so why wouldn't I photograph here? Well, if the only light you have at your desk is just like a little LED or something, that's not ideal. What we're looking for in a location is strong, even light. Maybe you want to take your headshot outside. Maybe something in the middle of the day under a tree for some soft dappled light, or around the sunrise for some soft light on your face, or around sunset. Or if you're inside, finding a place with a window or some soft, even light. What I mean by soft, even light is not just being in the sun, because like, I don't know, think about your graduation day, high school, college, whatever, or anytime you're outside with a cap on and you can see these harsh shadows across your face because the sun's high in the sky. That light is strong, but it's not even. Then maybe in your home you have some overhead lights, and those lights are even, but they're not strong. So trying to find the middle ground. A good thing to keep in mind is in the spaces in your home, you should know what the color temperature of those lights are. If you're not sure, turn on the overhead lights and then hopefully look out a window and see if the lights that you're looking at look white like the sun does, if they look pink or green or yellow. That's a color temperature. Since we want to make sure we're not mixing color temperatures, I would advise either getting daylight tested lights or photographing near a window where the camera is facing you and you are facing the window. So that main soft even light is coming over your face. Right now, the light that we're using is soft and even, and we're bouncing it, meaning we're pointing it off the ceiling. So it's cascading down, and you can see across my face without any harsh shadows. That's what a soft, even light does. Background-wise, we're looking for something that is either sparse and kind of soft, or if it's very busy, for the room to be large enough to be able to take a photo so that all of that stuff isn't just kind of all over on top of you, you know? Because a headshot is just that. It's about you. It's not about the things in your room, in your space. It's about what you look like and what you feel good about. As you're looking for a space in your home to photograph in, don't be afraid to check outside and inside. If you have a garage, it can be, or a threshold. If you have a garage or a threshold, it'd be a nice space for us to set up a portrait that allows some natural fall off by having you lit by the outside sun, but it's a little bit softer on you. If you have a house that's really packed with things, consider photographing outside. Or opening out a space in your home where the light comes in, you know that you can get enough distance from all those things so it's not distracting. Next up, be prepared. Well, that sounds obvious, Andre. That's why we're doing all of these steps. We're on step 7 and you're talking about being prepared? Yeah. But we're talking about the day of. You studied photos of yourself, you slept, you drank water, you did all those things. So now what? Now what is the day of? If you can, bring a friend. Someone that knows you well enough to say, hey, your hair looks a little cattywampus, or maybe your makeup could use a little help. Basically, you want someone there that's an independent arbiter that cares about you and isn't the photographer. This way, you can have someone that can keep you accountable and have you feeling good. If a friend or a loved one is there, I would advise using selfie mode on your phone and just making sure you're checking up that your skin and everything looks okay. And if the photographer's okay with it, it's okay to ask them, hey, can I see an image or two so I can kind of see what I'm doing, how I look, how I feel. And if there's something you feel insecure about, you can ask them and say, hey, I'm worried that maybe my face looks too puffy or my arm looks strange. What do you think? Being prepared the day of is all about communication. It helps you both stay confident and keep you in the mind frame of getting your photo taken and not worrying about all these other things. Strike a pose. Remember, in a headshot, you are the star. Not this YouTube video where I'm yammering on. This is not like an Oscar movie where someone's trying to win something. It's just about you. So, first thing you want to do is make sure both your shoulders are visible so people can see your proportions. What I mean by that is, all of a sudden if we're like this, or like this, it's too sharp of a shape, you know? One thing that we can do is we can choose to shift to one side or another to give a little bit of a emphasis on either your better side of your face or your bone structure. So if you, for example, have a part in your hair on your right side, I always advise folks to then lean into the right side so you show a little bit more of your face. So as you turn, I have short hair, but if you have longer hair than I do, you might want to consider pushing this hair down here, but also putting it behind your ear on this side. And that way you give folks a nice leading line across your face. Putting in a nice angle and something that's a little bit more dynamic than just this kind of flat shoulders up situation, passport photo, makes your headshot get a little bit of life. Now folks are always like, wait, hold on. Should I smile? Should I not smile? Should I frown? You can smile like Tyra, or you can try a couple different things. You can try a soft smirk. You can cross your arms. You can turn your shoulders, put your arms together, and you know you had to do it to them. Meme, I don't know if you know it. You can smile. Whatever it is that you feel most confident in, try that and a few other things. Remember when you were studying photos of yourself, that's when you're asking yourself, what ways do I look best and the most at ease? Those things are the things you want to lean into in that moment. And if you have a friend, you can ask them, does this look kind of strange? People always ask, should I be sitting or standing? I think that differs on what you're comfortable with. So sitting, naturally without paying attention to, we can slouch, so it's important that we keep a firm base and almost act like there's a string pulling us up. But if we're standing, it's also important that we don't look too stiff. So two things can be true at once. If you're sitting, be very wary of being too comfortable. If you're standing, be very aware of looking too stiff. I would advise you at the time to try both things. It might surprise you about the thing you feel the most confident about. A little additional tip, if you are getting your headshot taken, editing can be tricky. So for someone that has, really any kind of hair, straight hair, curly hair, whatever, you're gonna have flyaways. If you do want a photographer to edit those, discuss that ahead of time, because it actually, I know we are like in this space where everyone's like, just Photoshop it out. It's a little bit harder than it seems. And if you talk maybe ahead of time about what insecurities you have, it might help you both set an expectation about what the image is gonna look like and talk to the photographer about what they can reasonably do. Because sometimes folks will ask me to like lengthen their necks or like do things that I'm not sure I'm really super comfortable with. It's not something I don't know how to do, but I definitely think it's important for us to once again have a good body image. When you're editing, in the phase of editing, ask the photographer if they'll send selects or if you'd like to help pick them. After they're set, it's reasonable to just ask for like a light color pass or, a couple things. But intense editing is something you should really talk about ahead of time with the photographer. And also I would encourage you, try to avoid it. Be happy with who you are. A headshot is a celebration of you, not another stress point. Next step, and this is important, do not rush. You did 8 steps to this point. You got prepared. You got your haircut maybe. You did your hair, you did your makeup, you pressed your shirt. Now that you're here, take a deep breath and be comfortable with the uncomfortable, which is asking someone else to see you and see you long enough to capture you in an image. You're doing this not out of vanity, but out of necessity. We live in a digital world, and once again, that headshot is your emissary. So be very, very patient. So try a couple different poses, try some different expressions. Don't worry about if you look silly or not. You really only have to nail one. So if you think about those odds, you can take 200 photos. And as long as you take one you feel good about, that might help you get your next client, your next job, or just feel great about yourself. And lastly, exhale, have some fun, right? It's okay to show some personality. Don't bring like a banana or like a rubber chicken or something, but understand that you have an opportunity to capture yourself. So instead of worrying, do I need a haircut or not? Take a second and say, am I happy with how I look in this moment? If the answer is no, and you have some time, then maybe you do want to get a haircut. I would advise not making any drastic new decisions, but being patient with yourself throughout the process is the key to getting a good headshot. Like I said, secret 1 is a great photographer. Secret 2 is you. So we've taken all 10 steps. Do you feel ready? I hope you do.